It's my nerd world, and welcome to it, a Star Wars podcast. On the show this week, Terrifying Tales, the latest Lego Disney Plus show, drops on Disney Plus. Talk a bit about that. We got some Book of Boba Fett details, Book of Boba details. It's a Star Wars podcast. I should at least get that right. A couple of news items, an interesting rumor, not putting a ton of stock in, but worthy of mentioning nonetheless. And a little bit of listener feedback. Where you guys been, man? Drop me some emails. TalkShowNerd@gmail.com. All right, let's get to the show this week. Glad that you are taking time out of your busy schedule to listen to my nerd world.
Nothing will stand in our way.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
I will finish what you started.
Who are you? I'm no one.
There are stories about what happened.
It's true. All of it.
The Force. It's calling to you. Just let it in.
Man, I am so thankful for Star Wars. It just brings me so much joy. I'm your host, Jon Justice. Glad you're with the show this week. Got a lot of different news items to get to. Not a lot in terms of rumors. One item I happened to stumble across. I don't know how much weight I put into it, but it is rather just interesting in terms of speculation if Disney and Lucasfilm are actually planning on doing what is in this rumor from Inverse. I want to start off the show, though, with the podcast recommendation and how I stumbled across it. I was watching A New Hope this week in the middle of doing some other items, working on Book 7 in my EMBARK space opera series. Hopefully I'll have that out in November or December at the latest. I'm going to try to pull a Disney Book of Boba Fett. I guess it is Book of Boba Fett, isn't it? That's not Book of Boba, it's a Book of Boba Fett. Well, I was right the first time. It's been a long week. I haven't had dinner yet, and it's right around dinner time. Anyway, so I'm hoping to have that the last book in the series for now out before the end of the year. Again, just like they're kind of doing with the Book of Boba Fett, because they're just squeaking it in before the year wraps up. But we'll dive into to that particular item that I mentioned earlier. But I was sitting down and watching A New Hope. Had it on in the background, and found myself not focusing on the work that I was supposed to do and focusing on A New Hope instead. And again, I continue to be amazed at how well that film holds up. And one of the things that really stuck out to me on this watch was how the material that we're getting now, especially when it comes to like The Mandalorian, really does enhance the viewing of A New Hope. And I've mentioned this before, but it does keep it timeless. The creators of Star Wars after the original trilogy, and even handing it over to George Lucas handing it over. Even for the changes that have taken place and sort of the stylistic choices of the sequel trilogy, love him or hate him, I love him. They still do capture Star Wars, and it still does continue to add to the experience of watching A New Hope. And a film that is as old as A New Hope is still holds up. It's not slow in terms of pacing. I've kind of have considered it in the past being slow in terms of pacing, but it really isn't. And especially with a series like The Mandalorian, has really gone a long way in keeping that film just feeling timeless. And maybe it would have anyways, but you watch other films from that era, and the cinematography, the art direction, the set design, it just doesn't hold up. Even if you look at the Star Trek films, Wrath of Khan does a pretty good job, as does Voyage Home, but The Search for Spock does not hold up at all. And the set dressing and the things that I mentioned a moment ago, they just don't hold up the way that Star Wars does. So as I was watching A New Hope, I had at one point decided to go play Battlefront, because I play Starfighter Assault at least once a day. And I usually find a Star Wars podcast to listen to. And I came across Christian Harloff, who I've listened to before, going all the way back to AMC Movie Talk, Collider, Jedi Council. He has a podcast now called Sith Council. And I had pitched off of listening to Christian Harloff for a while, just because a lot of the hosts that he had on I didn't care for. And it was right around the time when there was a lot of negativity going on between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. But I rediscovered the Sith Council podcast with Christian Harloff and a panel of guests, and he's been going through and doing a rewatch, much like I did about a year ago, of all of the theatrical releases. And it's really enjoyable. I encourage you to go and listen. The prequels, they've covered all the films so far up until, I think, The Empire Strikes Back. I don't think they've done Return of the Jedi yet, but they've been going in chronological order. But they're really fair with the prequels, and I was a little bit hesitant and concerned because I know that Christian Harloff's been critical of those films before. They point out the criticisms, which are valid, but they also spend a lot of time, and most of the time, talking about the positives of those films. And then I got into the Attack of the Clones, which I was really worried about because I know that that's probably the least favorite of most fans, and I'm an unabashed fan of Attack of the Clones. And again, they point out the criticisms, which are valid, but they also spend a lot of time talking about the positives of that film. So, if you didn't listen to my rewatch of them, I was inspired by the Rewatchables on the Ringer podcast and Bill Simmons. Fantastic podcast. I was inspired to do the rewatching episodes of the films because of Rewatchables. I'm pretty sure that Christian Harloff was too. He's formatted his show much in the same way that they do Rewatchables. But if you're looking for something in the middle of kind of a slower news cycle, even though we got Visions, that's already kind of died down a bit, I really, really would encourage you to go and check out Sith Council with Christian Harloff. I don't think you'll be disappointed. I myself have, again, been really, really enjoying it and looking forward to listening to the rest of the episodes.
When I found you, I saw raw, untamed power. And beyond that, something truly special.
This week, we got two different new Star Wars shows. The first one was Galaxy of Sounds. So much like Disney Biomes, where they took portions of the films and reduced them to little vignettes without any of the story, just traveling over the planets, and these are scenes taken from the films. The Vader Castle one is fantastic from Biomes. We now have Galaxy of Sounds, and I'm going to read a bit of a review here that I found online. A new series of shorts paying tribute to the audio of Star Wars in the latest Disney Plus original series, Star Wars Galaxy of Sounds. There are 7 episodes that focus on the hard work of Skywalker sound. They're called Wonder, Excitement, Dark Side, Light Side, Beeps, Connections, and Oddities. It features scenes from all 11 action films, The Mandalorian, and the animated TV series. Much like Disney's Zenimation series, the writer found this series of Star Wars scenes focusing on audio to be oddly calming. Having dealt with anxiety issues in the past, sometimes I really benefit, the writer says, from throwing on a series like this and just getting lost in the sounds. After watching these episodes, they average about 7 minutes apiece. I was in a state of zen, you might say. This is basically the audio form of Biomes series released earlier this year. The one that calmed me down with visuals, while this one calmed me down with audio. It is really cool. You'll have to go and check it out. I've only watched about 5 minutes of them, and the article writer is totally correct. I've been dealing with my own sort of new anxieties as of late, just stresses of life and living in the world that we live in and having to talk about this stuff Monday through Friday for the full-time job inevitably takes its toll. But I'm looking forward to really sitting down and just kind of wiping out and chilling out and having these on in the background. They really are unique and different. And just a different way to view these iconic scenes that we've all come to know and love in the Star Wars series. And if you haven't checked out Biomes, go and do the same thing, much in the same vein. Not anything you're going to sit around with the family and laugh and watch, right? It's just something you can throw on in the background, again, while you're eating dinner maybe, or just doing your work at home. Definitely go and check it out. I do not think that you're going to be disappointed.
We have a spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
I'm recording this on October 1st, Halloween month. And with that, LEGO Star Wars Terrifying Tales is here. Prepare yourself for a jolting journey into Darth Vader's castle and frighteningly fun stories from a galaxy far, far away. This hauntingly hilarious themed Halloween-themed special is now streaming only on Disney+. After the events of The Rise of Skywalker, Poe Dameron and BB-8, they must make an emergency landing on a volcanic planet at Mustafar, where they meet the greedy and conniving Garbala the Hutt. The crime boss has purchased Darth Vader's castle and is renovating it into the galaxy's first all-inclusive Sith-inspired luxury hotel. While waiting for his X-Wing to be repaired, Poe, BB-8, and Garbala and Dean, a plucky and courageous young boy who works as Garbala's mechanic, venture into the deep and mysterious castle with Vader's loyal servant, Vani. Along the way, Vani shares 3 creepy stories linked to the ancient artifacts and iconic villains from across all eras of Star Wars. As Vani spins his tales and lures our heroes deeper into the shadowy underbelly of the castle, a sinister plan emerges. With the help of Dean, Poe, and BB-8 will have to face their fears and stop the ancient evil from rising and escape to make it back to their friends. Look, I'm a huge fan of Vader's Castle. I want as much Vader Castle content as possible. We haven't got a lot of it. The fact that we're getting it in Lego is fine by me. I haven't had a chance to watch this in its entirety. What I have watched so far is pretty darn funny. Much along the same lines as the Life Day holiday special from last year, I'm actually kind of enjoying this one a little bit more. But the Lego specials and the Lego shows, they don't disappoint, man. They're good for young and old. And just fun content as we wait for the good stuff, right? As we wait for the meat and potatoes of our Star Wars, Disney, Lucasfilm content. Speaking of which,
This is not going to go the way you think.
the Book of Boba Fett will premiere December 29th on Disney+. Disney Plus announced that the Book of Boba Fett, the new Lucasfilm series, teased in the surprise end credit sequence following Season 2 of the finale of The Mandalorian, will premiere on Wednesday, December 29th, getting it in just before the end of the year, exclusively on Disney+. The Book of Boba Fett, a thrilling Star Wars adventure, finds legendary bounty hunter Boba Fett and mercenary Fennec Shand navigating the galaxy's underworld while they return to the sands of Tatooine to stake their claim on the territory once ruled by Jabba the Hutt and his crime syndicate. Talked about this at length on previous shows. Looking forward to the Book of Boba Fett, getting more excited for it every day. We got the poster. It's Boba Fett sitting in a chair, right? Only real change, he's got new undergarments under the armor. Other than that, it's Boba Fett sitting on a chair. Talked about who could possibly be appearing in the series on last week's episode. I would encourage you to go back and take a listen. But after Star Wars Visions, man, which again, I went back and have rewatched, is really, really enjoyable. I don't know how long it's going to hold up. You know, I don't think I quite enjoyed it much on a second rewatch, but it did exceed my expectations. But just continues to show that Disney is doing a fantastic job, in my opinion, with the Star Wars franchise. And I think the Book of Boba Fett is really going to deliver heading into the new year. And that's game on, man. We've got so much Star Wars coming next year. I cannot wait, and it honestly cannot get here fast enough. So really looking forward to the Book of Boba Fett. And as always, curious what your thoughts are. TalkShowNerd@gmail.com. All right, let's get into a little bit of the rumor mill. Let's dive into it.
Something inside me has always been there. But now it's awake. And I need help.
Okay, make of this what you will. There are some names in here that I happen to respect. I don't know much about Inverse.com, but some of the people that are talking about this rumor have landed on decent takes before and have leaked things in the past. Star Wars Visions prove the franchise doesn't need to focus on the Star Wars saga, or even care about canon to succeed, but Lucasfilm's next project could make Visions look like the Lego Holiday Special. According to a new report, Star Wars will be entering into bold new territory with an entire trilogy of movies inspired by this far-away galaxy's original or earliest origins. Now, this is according to a report from Nick Santos, who, again, I've heard on podcasts before and I believe has a bit of a track record. It's not, we got this covered or Mike Zero. It comes from the Hashtag Show, which has been hit or miss. Lucasfilm is currently developing a trilogy of animated movies inspired by the original concept art for Star Wars. Drawn by Ralph McQuarrie, who helped shape much of the franchise, these illustrations represent some of the earliest ideas that would become one of the greatest science fiction stories ever told. However, a lot of McQuarrie's concepts never made it into the movies. Before we go any further, it's worth noting that Santos isn't a verified source, and his own sources are anonymous. Okay. Santos' sources, however, reveal that Lucasfilm currently has writers working on outlines for all 3 movies. The studio was apparently encouraged by the success of Star Wars Visions and wants to pursue more animated projects. McQuarrie's art feels like an obvious source of inspiration, though they go on to say we're holding out for a Vision Season 2. According to the report, each of the 3 new Star Wars animated movies would be loosely based on A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, respectively, but with McQuarrie's original vision guiding the plot. Sources also don't expect the original cast members like Hamill, Ford to return to voice the characters that inspired their role. There's always hope, though. So, look, I don't put a ton of stock in this particular report. Usually with stuff like this, even if there is some validity to it, it's kind of like playing the telephone game. By the time you get down the line, the details have changed so much that, this could be not movies, but a series. They could be a series of shorts, like the Destiny Kids series that came out. The idea is unique and interesting. When they make mention in here of that this could be inspired by Ralph McQuarrie's original vision, I don't necessarily take that as being what Ralph McQuarrie made in his original vision. It was more of what George Lucas gave to him and then what McQuarrie made, if that makes sense. I know I'm kind of splitting hairs here, but there was a comic that was released called The Star Wars, and that was based off of some of the original concepts that Lucas had with vastly different characters. This sounds a little bit like that, where we get an animated series and perhaps what they are leading to, like when they say loosely based on A New Hope, it's like, okay, are you going to be retelling the story of the original trilogy in animation, perhaps more anime style, but you're going to be sticking with the artwork that Ralph McQuarrie did, sort of changing the look and the feel of what was created out of that artwork, if that makes sense. More of a one-to-one representation of what what Ralph McQuarrie did, which is very close to what the Star Wars comic book was. That would be really interesting. Kind of going back to my comment about A New Hope earlier and how timeless it is, I do believe that one day, whoever owns Star Wars, assuming it'll be Disney to the end of time, Disney will remake the original trilogy. May not be in my lifetime. I don't think it's necessary. I'd still watch it if they did. I would find it rather compelling to see an animation version of the original trilogy, like they mentioned, just straight up the original trilogy, but using the artwork on a one-to-one representation of what Ralph McQuarrie did, where you get the same story, there's no change in canon, the story's all the same, but the look and feel of it is more in line with that original concept art. That would be pretty interesting. I take a little bit of issue with the article saying that, a lot of McQuarrie's concepts never made it into the movies. While that's true, they definitely have been using a lot of Ralph McQuarrie concepts in the films, especially in the sequel trilogy. So, again, take, from that what you will. I'm not putting a ton of stock in it, but it's interesting to go and speculate anyhow. But what do you think? TalkShowNerd@gmail.com. Share your thoughts. I would love to hear them.
I need someone to show me my place in all this.
All right, got just a little bit of listener feedback. I don't know what you guys are doing. Why aren't you writing me? It's okay. Life is busy right now, and there hasn't been a ton of Star Wars news. I won't hold it against you. The Lowdown Show, though. Definitely check out The Lowdown Show on YouTube. He's been doing some fantastic trailer reviews, and I believe some movie reviews as well. So if you haven't gone and check out the Lowdown Show on YouTube, definitely go and do that. That's LO Down Show. Really quick response. Visions was awesome. So there you go. From Edwin. Thank you, Edwin, for the email. ZBH had a message last week. Watched Visions for the first day it was out. I really liked it overall. I didn't love episode 2 or 6, but I liked them more than most of the other opinions I've heard about them. Episodes 1, 3, 4, 5, and 7 are my top picks. All of the episodes have great animation, score, and acting, so I consider it a highly successful experiment. I hope we get more visions with different studios doing the next ones. Yeah, I think Disney's got to be pleased with the response from Visions, and I imagine that we're going to be getting, as has been rumored, more non-canon content and probably another season of Visions as well. Before I wrap up the show this week, remember, you can always go to mynerdworld.net to find out all things My Nerd World, and specifically the EMBARK science fiction series written by me, Jon Justice. Again, books 1 through 6 available now in audiobook, ebook, paperback, and now hardback. While I continue to write book 7 that will complete the series for now. I have other stories in mind, but this will definitely wrap up the series as a whole until I decide what I'm going to do going into next year, because I do have another story outside of EMBARK that I want to tell. Also on there, you'll find my other podcast. I have a Depeche Mode podcast that I haven't done in a while, but I'm planning on doing one very soon. There was an announcement of a box set of their documentary Film 101, so I'll be recording a Depeche Mode podcast very soon. And also my space opera podcast, which I also haven't done in a while, but I will be doing an episode there soon talking about Foundation. And I want to just take a moment and just say that if you haven't checked out Foundation on Apple Plus yet, and you have Apple Plus, definitely do. Watch the first 2 episodes. I'm going to be watching the 3rd episode this evening. I'm really impressed, and so is my wife, who I did not think was going to enjoy it. I am totally excited for Dune, but Foundation has really grabbed my attention. It is a beautiful show. The art direction, the set direction, the cinematography, the ship design, it is just gorgeous. It looks movie quality. Watch it with subtitles. It really helps. It's pretty heady. There's some pretty deep concepts in Foundation written by Isaac Asimov from those books. But if you're a sci-fi fan and a space opera fan, definitely check out a Foundation. I don't think you'll be disappointed. The creators of the show said that they were setting out to make something that could really differentiate itself from Star Wars and Star Trek, and they've done a fantastic job. And I'm really excited for the series, and I hope that it finds an audience, because they're talking at least 3 seasons, but they're talking potentially 8 seasons. And this is a show that I could really, really get into. It very much is on the level of Game of Thrones in terms of being compelling storytelling. Doesn't have any of the... It's pretty kid-friendly. There's a couple of love scenes, but nothing graphic, just to kind of put that out there. So it's for them. I mean, they're heady themes that kids aren't going to get into, but if you have it on in the background, there's kids around, I think you'll be all right. Just like I said, apart from a couple of love scenes that are just, basically tame compared to something like Game of Thrones. But I'll be doing a full review podcast on my Space Opera podcast coming up very soon. So that's it. If you haven't had a chance to check out my book series, as I said before, available on Amazon.com, Jon Justice. And if you're an ebook reader, I got that special going on right now. You can pick up book 1 for just 99 cents in ebook, but you can actually pick up the entire opening trilogy of EMBARK. EMBARK Book 1, Treasure in Darkness, and The Vanishing War, in ebook for only $2.99. So head on over to Amazon.com and search for EMBARK, Jon Justice, and pick up your ebooks or audiobook or paperback or hardback. All right, I'm going to go watch my Friday evening viewing, which is going to include Foundation and probably some Star Wars later. Shocking, I know. And enjoy some pizza. So I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Looking forward to talking to you again next week. Until then, here's a little Obi-Wan Kenobi.
The Force will be with you, always.
My Nerd World.